So I want to be really clear in this video that these are all my personal experiences and this is my lived experience through what happened. This is not in any way an attempt to put down any of the fitness studios or the community that I was a part of, because trust me, I was a part of it for years upon years, and I was so grateful to be a part of it and had the incredible opportunity to work with so many wonderful people and studios. And so I would really love just to emphasize that this is purely my own experience and what I went through through the fitness industry and my own personal story around that. So I hope that you can hear that through that lens and trust that this is purely to share an experience and hope that you can gain something from it. A big part of me was like, why the fuck would people care what I've been through or what's been going on in my life? And it's, I know that in my own journey and in my own healing, I recovered in a big way from the ability for others to show up and tell me what they've really been through, and so that I could feel less alone. And so much of what I represent and what my company represents is standing up for people, standing for you, supporting you to know that you are never alone, that you're always loved, and that it is human to struggle and go through contractions and transformations. And I'm deeply inspired by people who are bold and courageous. And so I hope that in my small effort to do that today, that I can help someone. And if you know someone that can benefit from this video, please pass it on. What I really want to talk about is just what it was like for me as a fitness instructor, as someone that, I say this with great humility, but a lot of people have said to me, like, I idolize you, like, I look up to you, you were my Fitspo and everything else, and like, that's awesome, and I felt like that was such an honor. But I also think, like, you didn't, like, I wanted to say to people at certain points, like, yeah, but like, do you know what it costs to be like this? In my case, do you know what it costs to look like this, and what it's like behind closed doors? And I want to be clear that this isn't the case. I'm not painting a generalization in any way, and I'm speaking purely from my own personal experiences. I know that a lot of fitness instructors are doing an incredible job of taking care of their bodies, but for me, the reality was I wasn't, and that became very apparent in the last 8 months. Being a fitness instructor was really, really profound for me, and it was also very challenging. And I think what people don't often talk about is that experience of what it's really like, behind the stage or behind closed doors. Fitness instructors have this ability to be people that we look up to, and it's a privilege. I know that even before I was an instructor, or even while I was, you would go to teachers' classes and feel inspired by them, and part of you really wanted to be like them in some way. You look up to them, and whether it was their body or the way they acted or whatever it was, their charisma and how they conducted a class or their lifestyle, there's part of the allure of being a fitness instructor that is very much like, you go to somebody's class because you connect with them, but also, like, I know from my own personal experiences, I would go to people's classes and think like, oh my god, she has an amazing figure. If I do this class, I might hopefully look like that too, even if it was on a very subconscious level. It was not abnormal for me to be teaching, I taught probably like 15 classes a week on average, and that was just like, whether it be, at the various studios that I was teaching at, and, especially when you're a spin instructor, I'm not half-assing it, like, I'm doing a full workout. And then on top of that, I would have my own other workouts where, I would go with the other instructors and go do various personal training. And in a given day, I might have exercised like 3 hours a day would have been normal. And, I found myself just being so exhausted. Like, I would come home, have a nap at 3 p.m., get up, have to go teach a class. I would keep myself like afloat by drinking a lot of coffee. Like, I would have to take these like really fucked up like weird stimulant powders because I was just constantly like okay, like it's time to go full force again. And that was just the normal. It was like I never slowed down. And again, you look at other fitness instructors who are doing it what seems to be like they're doing it perfectly or well, and I kept thinking, well, then what's wrong with me? Why can't I teach 20 classes a week and feel normal and fine? And so I just kind of kept pushing. You know, I was always pushing myself to be like, you need to look better, and, you know, I would compare myself to other instructors. And I remember having, like, serious anxiety attacks before photo shoots because I would always think, like, well, like, you don't, you know, everybody else looks better than you, so, like, this is gonna be horrible. It's gonna be so uncomfortable. And I just never felt good enough. And that wasn't something that anyone specifically did or said to me, but it was hard for a person who's already a perfectionist. It was a very challenging environment for me to be in, which I know in some way was something that I was destined to go through in order to kind of get over it. But I was constantly, like, pushing myself and feeling like it's never enough. Especially because there was other instructors who were teaching even more and looked better than me and had 8-packs and had their classes filled better. And I always thought, like, well, that must be partially because of the way, you know, my body isn't, like, as fit as theirs, or whatever the hell the voice of the critic would tell me in my head. And there were expectations with every place that I was employed at. Like, of course, you have to go to the classes and keep on top of your game. And in February, end of February, I got really injured. My hip flexor basically tore in a spin class, and I, like, couldn't walk properly for, like, you know, 2 weeks. It, like, hurt so much to even walk. I've never experienced an injury or anything like that. It was as if everything in my whole world came crashing down before I was ready for it. I got an MRI, I went to sports medicine doctors, I did everything I could, acupuncture, everything to try and help it to get better, because I was like, you know, like, I can't not teach, and I can't not exercise and everything else, because this is, like, my life, and this is my livelihood, and this is my identity, and I couldn't teach any of my classes. I just was, the doctor was like, you know, like, you have to rest. You can't, like, you can try going for a walk, but you certainly can't really exercise. So obviously being forced to slow down to that extent, like, created a huge, like, tsunami in my life. I didn't know how to, like, talk to people. I felt, like, so depressed, especially because they were like, it's gonna take months for you to heal. And you can imagine, as someone who is used to exercising, like, you know, 3 hours a day or whatever it was with all my classes, like, I couldn't do any of that. The craziest thing was in being forced to slow down and getting that enormous sign from the universe, I like, was handed so many different lessons. One of them being, like, who are you without fitness? Like, who are you without the ability to exercise? Who are you without, you know, this body that you think you're supposed to have? How do you manage your emotions and nourish yourself without exercise? How do you treat yourself with kindness? How do you look at yourself in the mirror and say things that are compassionate and loving, regardless of what you look like? So as I started to shed, you know, this identity of being a fitness instructor, all the while nursing my injuries and having to be forced to literally slow down and, like, remove all the things that I've relied on for my entire life to make me feel good, you know, like, a lot of things changed. I became, like, depressed. I would look in the mirror every day and be like, this isn't the person that I identify as. Like, the types of things I remember looking in the mirror and, like, seeing my body and just, like, crying hysterically because I was like, I felt so disgusting. And like I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to like hang out with my friends. I felt like a fraud because I felt like, you know, if I go out and, you know, out in public, like people are gonna look at me and they're gonna think like, oh, like she doesn't look the same as she did when she was a fitness instructor, and like, wow, like probably like she's gained weight or like whatever. And I didn't know how to deal with that. And I think the truth is like I didn't know how to deal with it myself. I just wanted to remember one of these low moments again because I want to look back and be proud of how far I've come. And I believe that's going to happen. It just feels so hard in the moment. It feels so hard and it hurts so much. I've had the lowest of low moments where I've asked myself, like, am I going to be okay? Like, am I going to get over this? Am I going to be worthy? Am I ever gonna feel like I can look at myself and be kind and loving and not critical? Am I gonna feel like I can wake up one day and like not feel depressed, or like my mood is all over the place and fucked up because of my hormones? Am I gonna see the relief from the damage that I've done to my body for so long? This process, like, I had like the gift of hiring a holistic trainer and coach who is helping to work with me and develop like proper eating habits and identify like as someone who, when I could start training again, how would I do that in a healthy way and develop a healthy relationship with exercise. And he was like asking me things like, do you ever take days off? And how does it feel like when you take care of your body? What do you do? And I realized like, well, shit, I don't do anything. I've exercised like every day for like the last 20 years. And when I don't, I know that I feel like a useless sack of shit. And that's just the way I've been like programmed. And that's not healthy. That's not balanced. That's not nourishing your body. And so I think that was another incredible awareness for me around like, my God, like what do I even do to take care of myself? I wasn't like eating proper meals to nourish myself for the amount that someone was exercising in any way. And all these things take a toll on your body. And I started seeing a naturopath, and I realized that I had thyroid issues and that my adrenal glands had been really severely impacted by all the high intensity, like intense stress and exercise that I've been putting my body through for so long. And they told me that like it might take years for that to get better. It might take a year, it might take who knows how long. And you know, there are a lot of symptoms that come along with that, like being awake all night and having insomnia because your body is so confused with like how much stress you've constantly putting on your body that it doesn't really know when you're supposed to be awake or asleep. Not having an appetite, having your metabolism all fucked up. I didn't have a period for like a long time when I was a fitness instructor because again, like when your body's constantly being subjected to all that stress, it doesn't function properly, and your period is a sign of your body being in balance and having your hormones in balance. And I didn't know any of these things. I was just like, whatever, I don't have a period, who cares? Like, so does most of other people don't have a period either, whatever. It was like kind of normalized. I always looked around at like all the other people in the fitness community and I would just be like, I don't know, this is like, she doesn't have her period, so it's just like, what happens? And I realized like how much I hadn't been taking care of my body. And going back to this like trainer I was working with, he was basically like, okay, we're gonna start over. We're gonna go from square one. We're gonna build you like a really healthy eating plan. We're gonna you're gonna only exercise 4 days a week. You can't do anything of high intensity that you would raise your cortisol levels too high with. You can't sprint, you can't do anything like that. You can lift weights and do gentle weight training, and you can go for long walks on the beach. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Like, I can't like go for a run. I can't like do anything intense that's gonna elevate my heart rate. I have to go to yoga. Like, what is this shit? I now have a relationship with exercise that is balanced and healthy, and I, you know, do it like, the average person was, where like I exercise a couple times a week. It brings me joy. I feel good about it, and I don't use it as a way to punish myself, especially if feel like I'm overeating. I'm not running to the gym anymore. Instead, my response is, okay, well, my body probably needed that, and like I'm gonna find healthier ways to deal with my feelings and not punish myself. I've looked back on some of the photos that I've taken of myself, like in, over the course of the past couple months. Like, it's been part of my practice with this holistic trainer to take photos of myself, and like every single time I have to do that, I feel like so disgusting, and I'm like, I don't look like this exact same as I used to, and my priority is just to like get back to when I had like a six-pack and all this shit. And I don't know, like I looked back on so many of these photos, and I cried, because I was like, how could you ever look at photos of yourself like this and be cruel? And yet, like, that's what we all do. I looked back on some of the photos of myself in like a bathing suit that I'd taken in the mirror, like, as part of this practice, and like, I was like, I don't know, I just almost like had this complete switch where I was like, I've never ever been satisfied with how I looked. I've never, even in my like fittest of fit days, I've never looked at myself and thought, wow, like, you look good, or like, I love you, or I'm grateful for my body, or like, it's never been enough. And the irony is that like, over these past couple months, having had all of that taken away from me and been forced to like remove the ability to do the extremes and the things that I've been used to do, I've had to develop like a new relationship with myself. And I've looked at these photos and have thought, like, I'm sorry. Like, I am so sorry to myself for the way that I've treated you. Like, I would never speak like that to a friend, let alone like anyone I know. And yet, like, the things I would say to myself were so cruel and hurtful. And why? Because I never felt like I was good enough. But for who? And when would it ever be good enough is the greater question. And that's what I really realized, is like, I should be so grateful for just like the ability to be in the body that I'm in, like, every day, because it is a gift. And like, I spent so long hating it, and it's been this like truly transformative journey where I've like realized, like, oh my god, like, I don't know, it's just, it's really just, it's been so difficult, but yet like so eye-opening at the same time. Like, I've spent so much of my life criticizing myself and wanting things to be different, or like molded to perfection, so that I could finally feel like, I don't know, maybe worthy enough to like have like the perfect boyfriend or whatever. Like, who knows, like, more so like for me to feel comfortable with myself. And what this journey has taught me is that like, if you can't love yourself and be comfortable without all the things that we do to try and make ourselves feel whole, then we'll never be whole, because that's who we are. Like, who we are is enough. It's more than enough. And you don't have to like exercise like every fucking day to feel good about yourself. Like, the things that have helped me feel good about myself lately have been like shit that most people would probably laugh at, like journaling, going for a walk on the seawall, enjoying nature, realizing that like I don't have to like get up at 5 in the morning and go for like an intense run to make myself feel worthy for the day. I can sleep in. I can like not wear a size 27 jeans and feel like I'm beautiful and that like I'm a curvy woman and that's my life and that's how it's going to be, and I'm probably never gonna look like, you know, an Instagram model or whatever the hell it is that like our homepages get bombarded with, and like that doesn't mean that I'm not a worthy and lovable human being. And the most important thing is for you yourself to wake up every day and feel like I love you, I'm grateful for you, thank you. And that's like been the hardest lesson for me. And throughout all this shit that I've been through in the last like year, I'm really feeling what it feels like to truly love myself in ways that like I didn't really think were possible. And to have the freedom to not be chained to exercise and, you know, the latest cleanse or diet or calorie counting or whatever, and to, I don't know, finally be free of a lot of things that I've dealt with my entire life. And I know that the universe gives us these lessons so that we can move through them, and I've asked countless times. I look back on like things that I've written years ago that were like, I want to be free of, you know, the struggles that I deal with my body, and I want to have the ability to have a healthy relationship with, you know, my family, with food, with exercise, with myself, most importantly. And I feel like those hardest lessons always bring you through on the other side to what you need the most. It's almost mental how I thought like my body was supposed to look. It's really almost like sickening how like distorted I like was looking at myself, thinking like this needed to be different or this wasn't good enough. I'm like, wow, like it's actually just like shocking. Your body does not define your worth. And I think even though I said out loud that I knew that wasn't true, I know innately and subconsciously I never believed that. I never felt worthy, and I felt like if I didn't have this like fucking incredibly fit body that was like insta-worthy, that I wouldn't be worth shit. And it's been a really immense struggle for me to get over that hurdle, especially being that like I'm no longer in the fitness community like as an instructor, and I've had to take a huge step back from my relationship with fitness, and of course that in turn caused a lot of like internal shifts, etc. But like I just really hope that in sharing some of the photos that I do, that I can show you like, yeah, I'm a real human being. I have fucking cellulite, I am curvy, I'm an Italian, like, you know, these things happen. Like I have a big Italian booty, and like whatever, you know, like I would have looked at photos of myself like 6 months ago and probably like torn them apart, and now I'm like trying to look at myself with compassion and kindness and, you know, love, that like I'm living a healthy, you know, life that is very much more aligned with who I am and who I would like to be than in the past. And if that means that I do not have a six-pack and whatever, then so be it. Like, so what? At what cost would that give me in my life, and what's it worth? It doesn't matter what we acquire to externally support ourselves. Like I said, I've like bought new outfits. Like I explained in my article, like I've had plastic surgery in the past to try and like hopefully make my body feel more like beautiful and acceptable to myself, and like never once, not even as I said, in my fittest days have I felt the type of appreciation that I feel having had that all taken away. And it's one of those classic stories of like, you can't buy self-love. You can't, like, it's not something that you can acquire from an outside source. It comes from taking care of yourself, loving yourself, slowing down, and understanding what it takes to care for and nourish your body and develop a relationship that can only be possible coming from the inside out. It doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean I'm at the point where I'm waking up every day feeling like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I feel amazing. But it means that I'm making extreme progress, and that every day is a new opportunity to look and appreciate myself in a way that I haven't before. And to no longer rely upon like outside things to bring that to me. And I guess it takes the universe like throwing you down and bringing you to a complete halt to say like, this is no longer working, so you have to find a new way, and it's gonna be fucking painful, but you know, now you at least have the opportunity to look at things in a new light. And that's what happened to me. My advice to you and my wishes for you, that to those of you that are struggling, or those of you that are having a hard time, you know, appreciating yourself, I know it's fucking hard. I know it's hard to love yourself and to not feel like you have to change yourself in order to feel worthy. I know it is. And it's a journey every single day. But I can tell you that the more that you let go of those things and those chains that hold us back, the freer that you will feel. And that often the things that we're the most afraid of in life, like, we know set us free. And for me, that's what was true. I had to let go of what wasn't serving me, and it was one of the hardest lessons I'll ever have had to learn. And my life basically took a complete 180, but it was necessary for me to be stepping freely into the work that I do now, and to feel like I'm more whole and more appreciative of myself than I'll ever be. And so what if that means that I'm not going to look the same, I'm not going to have the like same size jeans, and that, you know, I'm going to be me, I'm a little curvier, and I won't have a six-pack, like, who knows? Fuck it, I don't care. Like, I'm I don't know, just so much has been positively impacted by this, and I couldn't have had that, I wouldn't have had that awareness back at that moment, because at that time I was like, I don't even want to live, like, this experience is so awful. And coming through the other side, like, I'm not fully on the other side saying I'm fully healed by any capacity, but like, I wouldn't trade that for anything, because I've always asked to be free of the things that have always brought me down and that I've always struggled with. So trust that you're stronger than you think. Know that you are always loved, and it doesn't take somebody to love you. All you need to do is to love yourself, to surrender to the idea that there are things that work with us and for us, and that we're surrounded by love all the time. And, you know, if you have a spiritual practice, I know that you know what I mean. And that the more you can become in alignment with who you truly are, without all those external things that we feel we need to feel loved, the more like authentic fulfillment and joy you will feel. And the more we hang on to those like pieces of external validation and things that we feel we need to feel happy, that's the type of people and experiences that you draw into your life. And you'll soon find that they don't work, and that they're not really in alignment with who you are. And so I hope for you that you can find peace and love with yourself, that you can develop a loving relationship with yourself one step at a time, knowing that it's an ever transformative journey and it never really ends. But I'm here telling you that, you know, I feel like I had it all taken away, and I'm coming out the other side, and I'm loving and appreciating myself more than I really thought possible, given all the things that have happened. And, you know, now I have a menstrual cycle back, so Sorry if that's too much information, but it's just signs that my body's actually like working again, and my hormones, even though I feel like I'm going through fucking puberty again, I feel like a real woman. I feel like I'm just coming out the other side feeling like more and more powerful each day and more confident in who I am than ever before. And you can do it. I know you can. So thank you for listening. I love you. And I hope that you can share this with someone that you think would need it. And remember to be bold and courageous. And know that you can do it. Okay. Love you. Thanks for listening.